It was just another quiet evening in the woods, the kind of silence that makes your own heartbeat sound loud. John, a hard-working single dad, was on his usual weekend hike with his thoughts scattered between bills, his daughter's school, and the endless struggle of keeping life together. He never expected that this walk would change everything. Somewhere deep in the shadows of towering trees, he heard a faint, desperate cry, a sound that didn't belong in the calm of the forest. Following it, he stumbled upon something that made his blood run cold. A woman, buried almost completely in the earth, struggling for air. The woman wasn't just anyone. She was Claire, a millionaire known for her sharp mind and steely reputation. The kind of person whose life seemed untouchable until now. John's instincts took over, and without hesitation he dug her out, the dirt clinging to his hands, heart pounding with fear and urgency. As soon as she was free, Claire leaned close, her voice barely more than a whisper, and said something that froze him in place. Something he couldn't ignore, something that made him question everything he thought he knew about her, and about himself. In that moment, the quiet woods felt heavier, as if holding its breath, waiting for what would come next. What she whispered would bind their fates together in ways neither of them could have imagined. And as John looked into her eyes, he realized that this wasn't just a rescue, it was the beginning of a story far bigger and far more dangerous than either of them had prepared for. John's hands were still trembling when he helped Claire to a nearby fallen log. Her clothes were torn, and her face streaked with dirt, but her eyes were sharp, alert, like a hawk ready to strike. He wanted to ask what happened, why she was buried alive in the middle of these woods, but her whisper lingered in his mind, too strange, too urgent to ignore. As he tried to make sense of it, flashes of Claire's life began to surface. She wasn't just a millionaire. She was someone with enemies, someone who had built her empire in a world where trust was rare and betrayal even rarer. John thought of his own life as single dad, working tirelessly, doing everything to keep his daughter siphoned. He realized the contrast couldn't have been starker. Yet here he was, standing in the forest, drawn into a danger that was bigger than anything he had faced. Claire leaned closer again, her voice low and tense. "They're not done with me," she said. John's stomach tightened. The fear in her voice was real, not the kind that comes from a simple accident or misstep. It was calculated, cold, and very deliberate. That as night began to fall, shadows stretched across the forest floor, and John felt a chill that wasn't from the evening air. He glanced at Claire, and for the first time, he saw vulnerability beneath her strong, confident exterior. The question of who had tried to bury her alive and why hung between them, unanswered, and in that silence, John knew that saving her was only the beginning. Whatever danger was coming, it was closer than either of them realized, and there was no turning back. John couldn't shake the uneasy feeling crawling up his spine as he guided Claire out of the dense part of the woods toward the small cabin where he usually stopped on these hikes. Every crack of a branch underfoot made him flinch, imagining shadows moving just beyond his vision. Claire kept her gaze fixed ahead, tight-lipped, but occasionally glanced back at him, her eyes betraying a mix of fear and something else, trust, or maybe desperation. Once inside the cabin, John offered her water and a place to sit. Claire accepted quietly, her fingers trembling as she held the cup. She seemed calm, but the tension radiating from her was palpable. John wanted to ask more questions. Why she had been in the woods, who could have done this, but he hesitated. There was a story here, layers of danger and secrecy, and he could feel it pressing down on him. Claire finally spoke, revealing just a fragment of the truth. "There are people who don't want me to survive," she said. Her voice was low, almost a whisper again, but the weight of it settled in John's chest. "And they'll come for anyone who tries to help me." That sent a jolt through him. His world of bills, work, and raising his daughter suddenly collided with hers, a world of wealth, power, and ruthless enemies. Claire's face, usually so composed, was now pale, and her eyes darted toward every window as if expecting the worst. John tried to stay calm for both their sakes, but he could feel the weight of responsibility pressing down. Protecting her wasn't just about heroism anymore, it was about survival. As he scanned the dark forest through the cracked curtains, he noticed shapes moving among the trees. Just faint shadows, maybe but enough to make his heart race. They began piecing together fragments of what had led Claire into this trap. Rivalries, secret deals, and betrayals surfaced, each revelation darker than the last. John realized the danger wasn't random, it was calculated. Every detail hinted that someone powerful wanted Claire gone, and anyone who got close was at risk. Suddenly, a sharp sound cut through the night, like the snap of a branch under heavy boots. John's pulse spiked, and Claire stiffened beside him. The forest was no longer just a backdrop. It was a predator, watching and waiting. In that moment, both of them understood. What started as a rescue had turned into a life-or-death struggle, and the climax of their nightmare was about to descend. Just as John crept toward the window, straining to see the movement outside, Claire grabbed his arm. Her whisper was urgent, shaky with fear he had never seen in her before. "It's not just them," she said. "Someone else knows we're here. Someone close?" His mind reeled. He had assumed the danger came from faceless strangers, from powerful enemies lurking in the shadows, but the idea that a traitor might be inside their circle made his skin crawl. Suddenly, the cabin door rattled violently, Both of them froze. The sound wasn't random. It was deliberate, calculated, a warning. John's first instinct was to barricade the door, but Claire stopped him with a raised hand. "They want to see if we panic," she said, her voice tight with tension. Her usual confidence seemed gone, replaced by raw survival instinct. He realized this wasn't just about saving her anymore. He was now fighting for both their lives, caught in a web of secrets, betrayal, and greed he barely understood. Then came the whisper again, this time from Claire herself. But not just a warning. She revealed a fragment of a shocking truth. The person who had tried to bury her alive wasn't acting alone. Someone, John knew, someone he had trusted in passing, could be involved. The thought hit him like a punch to the gut. The stakes were higher than he'd imagined. Outside, the shadows deepened, moving faster now, closer. John and Claire exchanged a glance, both realizing that escaping the forest safely would require more than courage. It would require outsmarting people who were ruthless and clever. And in that tense moment, with the night closing in around them, the true danger, the twist no one expected, was about to unfold. The forest erupted in chaos as the door finally burst open. Figures emerged from the darkness, their faces masked, their intentions clear. John's heart pounded, but he didn't hesitate. He grabbed a heavy log and swung it with all his strength, buying Claire just enough time to slip past him and dart toward the back exit of the cabin. She didn't look back. Survival had sharpened her instincts, and John followed, adrenaline fueling every step. They ran through the woods, branches whipping against their faces, hearts hammering, until they reached the clearing where Claire had first been buried. And there, waiting in the shadows, was the shocking truth. One of the masked figures pulled off their face, revealing someone John had thought was a friend, someone he had trusted for years. Betrayal cut deeper than fear ever could. This was the person orchestrating everything, exploiting Claire's wealth and influence for their own gain. Claire finally explained the full story, her voice steadier now. The person who had tried to bury her alive had been after control over her business empire, using fear and manipulation to target anyone close to her. John listened, stunned, realizing just how deep the danger had gone and how fortunate they were to have escaped. He also understood why she had whispered to him the way she did in the woods. It wasn't just fear. It was trust, an unspoken acknowledgement that he had risked everything to save her. As authorities took over and the forest returned to its quiet, John thought about his own life. His struggles as a single dad hadn't disappeared, but the courage, quick thinking, and heart he had shown that night reminded him of his own strength. Claire too seemed changed, softer in some ways, yet more determined in others, recognizing that survival and trust were more valuable than power or wealth alone. As they walked out of the forest together, the morning light reflecting off the leaves, both knew life would never be the same, but they had emerged stronger. The woods had tested them, fear had shaped them, and in the end, they had discovered resilience, trust, and the unexpected ways people can change each other's lives forever.